Hi, this is Mike Ignatoski, the creator of GreenFox, the spreadsheet that uses Excel programming to make it behave like an electronic baseball score sheet or scorebook, and it automatically computes the game stats, which can be a big time saver. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope you find this video helpful. In this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to use the custom player ratings, both for batters and for pitchers. So I have here a blank score sheet that I've just kind of set up the lineups for in a game with the Looney Tunes being the visitors and the Waltons being the home team. And right now you can see in my lineup sheet it just has the hard-coded column of position and where everybody's playing. But what I want to do is add 2 additional columns of information for my batters, and I also want to set up some for my pitchers. So to do that, I'm going to go down here to the Sheets portion of the spreadsheet and click on the Config worksheet. And that brings me to this colorful and informative sheet. Now the top section with these blue info bubbles in this first box deal with the batter lineup player rating / info column. So that tells you how to set up that. Whereas the next section is with these green, with this green info bubble and table describe how to set up for the pitcher. But let's start with the batter. So I'm going to want to add 2 additional columns, one for the player's speed and another one for their power. So I'm going to follow the rules here where it says enter an X in the flag row directly above the letter to indicate that I want to use a column. So you can see here there are 4 available to use, and I want to use 2. So I'm going to click on the right above the A and put an X there and an X here. So I want to use columns A and B. And I want to call this, in this label row, this is going to be my speed, which I'm going to abbreviate speed so that it doesn't take up too much of the cell. SPD, speed, and then power. I'll just go PWR as my power. Excuse me. So those are the 2 for my batter. Now once I have those set, I can click this button. So just a couple things I want to mention here. You can have up to 4, and in this row where it says the flag, you can enter an X, but you can also see up here where you can enter a number in front of the X between, here it says where N is between 1 and 7, and that'll determine how wide the column is. So just to try this, I'm going to, in here for the speed, I'm going to write speed out, and then in this column I'm going to put 2x, which means that should make that a little bit wider, or twice as wide. Because if you read more of this up here in the red where it says each X can display 4 to 5 characters. So 3x would yield enough to show 12 to 15 characters. So I probably really don't need 2x to show the speed, but I want to just demonstrate how this works. So upon doing that, I'm going to click this Save and Update Info, the info rating columns for batters. I'll click that, and it jumps over here to the score sheet, and you can see it added these 2 columns, speed and power, and you can see now speed is essentially twice as wide as the power. Now I'm going to go to my lineups. You can see where I have these lineups set up. So here's my visiting, whoops, I got this mislabeled, Looney Tunes, and my home Waltons. And I have, this should be kind of my power, even though it doesn't really matter, but I have my lineup kind of set up the same way. So I have the columns in the same order. So now what I want to do is paste this info in. I could paste all of it if I needed to, but I already have the first two columns, so I'm just going to click that first cell and then this last one and copy and go over here and paste these in. Now, for my demonstration, speed is using a 20-sided dice, so it's 1 to 20, and for power I have three options. It's either N for normal, X for extra power, and W for weak power. Alright, so let me finish this up by copying these same things for the Waltons. So it's important to click where it would be in that leadoff hitter, so it's right there, and paste those in. Okay, so now I have my lineup set up for my batter ratings. Now I want to set up for the pitchers. So let's go back to the config worksheet and focus on this second area here and this green info blurb where it talks about pitcher stuff. So here it says you can have up to 5 different info or rating labels for each active pitcher. So these labels are the same for home and visitors, and you could use these for whatever you want to, but possible ideas are for fielding or control or stamina or different things that may change in the course of a game, or maybe just a convenience to look at them on the score sheet as opposed to looking at your chart or something else. So I want to go back to the score sheet a minute, and you can see here up at the top is where these pitching ratings would go for the home team pitcher, which here for the Waltons is Jim Bob, and that his information is going to go here. Down for the visitors, I'm going to actually show these things. You can see the visitor pitcher is Bugs Bunny, and his info would go in this box or this table. When I hide the pitching stats rows, you can see it hides this kind of title header column, but it still keeps all the other cells, which you'll see that'll be plenty. So let's go back to the config sheet, and here's the pitcher area, and it basically works the same way, except I want to point out that this line here where it says the pitcher column widths are not configurable and can display 3 to 5 characters. That's just because they're not really set up as a column on the score sheet. They're just these defined cells, so it doesn't really work out to be able to expand them. So anyways, so in my scenario, we're going to use 2 pitcher ratings, so I'm going to follow the instructions here by putting these X's above A and B, so X and X, and then my A label, I'm going to say that's my pitcher's walk rating, so I'm just going to call it BB for base on balls or walk, and my B column is going to be their strikeout rating. And I'm just kind of making these up, but my possible values are like, it could be like a walk plus or minus, or neither for normal. So let me click this button here once I have these set, which I do. So I'm going to click that after some video excitement. You can see now it has updated the score sheet with these labels. So it has that B base on balls label and this K title for strikeouts, and the same down here for this one. Now, for Bugs Bunny, let's say I just got to look this up, and let's just say he's a walk plus rating and a K plus rating. Whoops. I didn't mean to do that. And for Jim Bob, let's just say he's got a normal walk rating and a minus strikeout rating. So that's that. Now, before we start, I want to go back to this lineups sheet, and you can see here are my lineups, but I also filled in these bench and bullpen boxes. And you can see here, these have been expanded, and you can see here now in these tables, the column headers or labels for these first two pitchers column or hitters columns have been updated to be the same thing that they are on the score sheet, with speed and the power for both the visitor and the home bench. And down here for the pitchers, you can see the first column has the BB for base on balls, and the second one is K for strikeouts. And the other ones are just the defaults of C, D, E for the letters. So you can see that's there for both. And that'll come into play when we want to use these people for substitutions. So now that I have that all set, I'm going to go back to my score sheet, and I could start to play my game. Okay, so fast forward into the game a few innings, and here we are in the top of the fourth inning, tied at 3. We have Gossamer on third base with 2 outs, and Tweedy's up. And now let's say we want to pinch hit for Tweedy. So if you remember to pinch hit, if I click on this help thing over here, this kind of shows a layout key of each score sheet cell. And over here on the left is the change hitter or pinch hitter area. So I'll say OK there. And I'm going to click on this left bar over here, and that'll bring up the substitution window. Now I'm going to cancel this for a second and kind of go back to this lineup thing. So here you can see this is the visitor, which is Looney Tunes. Here's their bench. You can see in the position I have PH for everybody as a pinch hitter by default, except for Wile E. Coyote. I put a PR because he's typically used as a pinch runner. And you can see these the values for their speed and power ratings are filled in here on the bench. So now let me undo that and redo it. So if we click the pinch hitter, it now brings up my substitution list from that lineups page, specifically for the Looney Tunes, and it shows my subs, but it also, you can see in the parentheses after them, it shows their column values or ratings. I'd have to kind of look here to know what they are, because it doesn't give the column labels, but it tells me what they are. So I'm going to say let's say I want to pinch hit Muggsy. So I pick Muggsy. So you can see here it says his position is pinch hitter, his speed is 8, and his power is X for extra power. So I say OK. And you can see when I say OK, it puts his name in the lineup spot, it puts his position as pinch hitter, it fills in his speed and his power with those values that were both on the bench and that were showing in the substitution window. So now let's say he gets a single, knocks in Gossamer, so he scores, he gets an RBI. And similarly, let's say we want to now use Wile E. Coyote as the pinch runner. So we'll click on the pinch runner part over here on the right, bring in Wile E. Coyote for the pinch runner because his speed is 17, and say OK, and it will put him in there on first base. Now with that, let's finish up with all this, not craziness, but with Speedy Gonzalez coming up, let's say the Waltons want to change pitchers. So let's go back to the cheat sheet. Now the change pitcher is the top bar. So up here in Speedy Gonzalez cell, I'm going to click the top bar to go to the relief pitchers. And here are the relief pitchers for the Waltons that are in the bullpen. And we can see their names as well as their ratings. So let's say I'm going to bring in Mary Ellen. She'll swap positions with Jim Bob and go into pitch. So I'll click her name. I click OK. Now let's watch up here Oh, I don't want to pick Mary Ellen because her stats are the same as Jim Bob, so let's not do that. Let's pick Reverend Fordwick. People know that was John Ritter. Anyway, so let's click OK. See, now it adds Reverend Fordwick up here, and it changes these stats, his pitcher, not his stats, his pitcher ratings to what those that were over here on the lineup sheet. You can see his walk rating was BB minus and his strikeout was K plus. So it puts those in up here in the proper cells. So that's really all I really wanted to cover today, which is how to use those and configure these custom rating or information columns for batters in your game and pitchers, and also how to use it in your lineup, and which ends up being helpful when you make player substitutions, that it'll automatically use that data to fill in either in the lineup for batters or up here in the pitcher info cells for pitchers. Well, that wraps up this video. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you found it informative and helpful. Please feel free to leave me some comments and subscribe to the channel if you'd like to be alerted when I post new videos. I hope that the GreenFox spreadsheet will save you time in keeping score and doing the game stats of your games, resulting in giving you more time to play the games that you want to play.